So keeping with my somewhat semi-annual / annual reviews of the 4066, I figured I would check in at the 250 hour mark. The 4066 I originally brought home in July of 2017. It now has, and this is April of 2020, so I've almost had it 3 years now. And put 256 hours on it. Absolutely love the machine. It has done everything that I have asked of it. To date, it has moved a significant amount of snow. I'm guessing of those 250 some odd hours, I would guess probably over 100 hours of that is snow removal, if not more. Not this past winter, not winter of 1920, but the winter of 1819. I ended up buying a SB 1174 Frontier blower because we had so much snow. I think PTO hour wise, we're creeping up on about 30 hours of PTO use throughout this winter. We didn't get that much snow this winter. Machine has just been phenomenal when it comes to snow removal. I mean, you can check out the videos. It's a great machine. I can't say enough good things about it. Aside from a few small issues that we've had, which some of them I took care of myself, some of them the Deere dealer took care of, it's been a relatively trouble-free machine. The only thing that I would suggest to Deere is, aside from the windshield wipers, which are incredibly terrible, is just add more lights and make your skid steer plate either hydraulic, or don't make the end user go out and find the linear actuator. And the thing about, one day I will sit down and do a video on how we did the linear actuator. But to be perfectly honest, it is not something that you want to just take off and do. You know, at the end of the video, I'll get in the linear actuator some. One of the things that I get asked often about is the mechanical self-leveling loader. For my intents and purposes, I really, really like the mechanical self-leveling loader. If you are trying to decide between a non-self-leveling and a self-leveling loader, really think about your uses. When it comes to what I do, which is a lot of work with pallet forks, I've got pallets in this garage. So I use a lot of pallets to move stuff around. Mechanical self-leveling is really nice because it keeps those pallets level. You can move stuff up to the higher shelves without any type of issue. Just very, very handy. However, there's one drawback to the mechanical self-leveling loader, and you'll have to look at these on the specs on the new R series loaders. I think they're R series now. This is an H180 on this machine, but the tilt back on the bucket tilt is not, the angle is about 1.5 degrees, I believe, less than the non-self-leveling. Not necessarily too big of a deal, but it does create, that 1 degree actually does create a few issues when you're digging in dirt piles that you have to teach yourself to work around. It's not the end of the world. It's still just as productive, but it is something that if you've operated a loader before, something you have to be very cognizant of, or about the first 20 times that you go into a pile, you will not end up with a full bucket. I think one of the areas that really kind of irks me a little bit is how the loader just kind of fits on the machine. It does seem a little loose. However, I've extensively used it to push snow, I've probably moved a couple 100 tons worth of driveway gravel, all kinds of snow, basically extensive use of the loader. And it does seem loose to me. I mean, if you can, there are loose parts. However, it doesn't seem, after the hours I put on it, it doesn't seem to affect the overall functionality. I keep it greased. Clearly I keep it greased, which I think is key. Serviceability wise, the loader also blocks. And somebody, when I first made these videos, Somebody was actually saying, I can't believe that, I could complain about something like this. I think if I'm complaining about something like this, it tells you exactly how good of the machine it is. The fact that the oil filter and the oil dipstick is buried behind the loader mast. Not too big of a deal, but it is somewhat frustrating when you want to check the oil, say just for a quick outing or something like that. I do wish that this loader had a quick attach system, so a single point of attachment instead of all the hoses. It would make taking on and off the loader quite a bit less cumbersome. And I've done some drawings on how to do that, but I haven't been able to figure out where I want to mount it or anything, and it would require some modifications that I don't want to do at this point. So going to modifications, the modifications we've added so far is we've added these I think these are 1200 lumen LED lights on the corner post of each cab. All we've done is gone in here, we've made this bracket to try to make it look as OEM as possible. We've actually used an OEM harness connected to, there was a spare, something for the European tractors. There was actually a spare plug up there that we worked into the wiring. And basically we just used where the rear view mirrors would mount, and we mounted this bracket in for these lights. Added a lot of capabilities to the front lights. I need to do something like that on the back. I actually have the attachments to do it. I just haven't gotten there yet. The next thing is we added the linear actuator for the skid steer plate. Now originally this skid steer plate came with just the manual operated handles. There is no hydraulic or electric kit. I thought that I could buy a kit for one of the skid steers or one of the small loaders, which actually that's what these tabs are from. And unfortunately, the linear actuator they include in those kits is too long to fit between the skid steer plates in this case. So what I had to do is I ordered the linear actuator from Progressive Automation. I used the parts of the kit, which is the red handles, and then I used the tabs here, or the bolts, but I had to grind down the corner in order to get them fit in there correctly, to get them past the ears on the locks. Seems to work really, really well. To power it, we ran, we have to keep in mind that is a 20 amp linear actuator. So basically what we did, we know it's not under any significant load. And I think we ended up using a 10 gauge wire all the way out here to it because of the DC electrics and everything. We lose so many amps. So it's got 10 gauge wire running to it. I really would like to firm up some of the wiring up here. This does present a few problems, just hanging out there with no bucket on it or anything. And we've got some excess wire just in case. And basically it comes back here. There is a weather pack connector right here. So the electric actuator is removable when you remove the loader. To power it, we've run it to the 30 amp main fuse basically underneath the tractor right there. And then we've run that wire right there on the floor. It comes up, there's a hole drilled right in here. And basically that wire comes up in here, goes behind the seat, and there's a fuse block behind the seat. There's two relays underneath this dash here, or this console here, and those relays power this switch right here. This is the same switch that this is the same switch that's used for the bucket disconnect and the small loaders like the 344K and things like that. Those are the two big modifications that we've made. I will have to say, if you're going to buy one of these machines, one thing I would recommend, and this is just my recommendation so far, is I would highly suggest getting an adjustable top link. You don't necessarily have to get it from Deere. There's other companies that make it. Along with that, so these lines right here go to the third function on the loader, which I've never used, but it is there in case I want it. And then I have the two rear remotes, which you use both of those if you have a snowblower with a hydraulic actuator and a hydraulic chute. So this is hydraulic right here, and then the chute rotation is hydraulic. Also, you could get the adjustable links right there. I would recommend that. And then one of the kits that seems to be pretty controversial on the forums and stuff is the downforce. So this machine does have the downforce kit. The trade-off, according to Deere, is you can't do the power beyond, and you also cannot do the hydraulic top link. The hydraulic top link, I don't think necessarily presents much of a problem other than routing of hoses. The power beyond, I have never really investigated on why you can't use the power beyond. For my purposes, I really, really like the downforce. If you are gonna blade a lot of snow, things like that, use a rear blade, use a box blade, particularly if you have very hard driveways, the extra 500 pounds of force that those rear downforce cylinders give you is very, very nice and very, very helpful. So you know, it's a kit. It costs, I mean, I can't remember. I think it's an extra like $1,100, maybe less. I can't remember, but I would recommend it if you're going to do a lot of grade work. It is very nice, particularly if you have a box blade with a ripper or something like that. I've got a 11 or 1274 box blade, BB, yeah, 1274 box blade with hydraulic rippers on it. I would recommend that if you're using a box blade that heavy. That box blade weighs 1,000 pounds, and then you can add 500 pounds of force downforce onto it. Makes it extremely nice. In the future, we will add lights back here because it is kind of dim behind the machine. But overall, once again, the rear wiper is terrible, absolutely terrible. That has been one of my complaints for this machine since I got it, is the wipers are just awful. And so if you're in blowing snow or anything, you basically you basically have like a little window, a little circle to look out of. Just not very comfortable to look out of. In cockpit or driver's area, operator station, whatever you want to call it, the 4066 does come with the air suspension seat. That is extremely nice. I do love the seat. It is extremely comfortable. You can stay in here for, I think the longest I've been in here is about 6.5 hours, moving snow, and that's when I was using a loader to move snow. But overall, I mean, there's some complaints with the AC and the heat not getting warm enough. I have never had a problem. And if you go back and look at some of my videos, I have moved snow with this machine to where the diesel was gelling up. I want to say it was negative 21, 22, and I had some, I didn't have it all number one diesel fuel. That was in spring of 2019, if you want to go look those videos up. So, you know, in terms of warmth, you can stay perfectly warm. In fact, there's been a couple times where I get so warm that I take my jacket off, and then when you have to go outside to say adjust something on the 3-point or things like that, you're just freezing cold. When you get back in, you'll warm right back up. Which, I mean, you know, some folks don't have cabs, and I mean, cabs are extremely nice. You know, so that's not to say that everybody needs a cab, but it is nice in my situation where I'm exposed where we live. If you go look at my videos, there's nothing to stop the wind. So during a blizzard or something like that, I don't want to be outside moving snow. But overall, I have talked now for 13 minutes on this machine. If you have questions, comments, like I said, this is my 250-hour check-in. It is extremely dirty. It has not had a bath since like August of 2019 because it got cold relatively quickly in the fall, and spring hasn't warmed up yet. In fact, I think there's still some snow on the ground behind the shop. So I'll do a check-in this summer, and we'll keep using it, keep putting hours on it, and I'll keep updating to the progress. Hopefully this year, life will calm down a little bit, and I can get back to some of the projects that I want to do, like straightening up this situation right here where the actuator's actually taking all the stress of those plates being off, and I really want to figure out some way to weld those plates together. So questions, comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.